My wife, she had me in the kitchen. I couldn't get out.
It's cooking or doing dishes?
Cooking.
Oh, that sounds good.
You're good to go.
Dishes.
Ready to go when you're.
All right, let's go ahead. Due to COVID-19 coronavirus health emergency and pursuant to Chapter 1283 of the 2020 Act of Assembly, the Covington City Council will convene electronically to transact the business statutorily required or necessary to continue the operations of the city. The public is encouraged to participate in the public meeting by sending any comments they may have to Rebecca Scott, clerk of the court, emailing her. The meeting is open to the public for viewing on the Zoom platform. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Okay.
So we need to open up the public hearing first. And I want to call the public meeting to order. And Ms. Scott, I don't think we have anybody that wanted to participate in the.
No, sir, I just checked my email again and there's nobody who sent any comments or made any requests to participate by Zoom.
So with that said, we can close the public hearing.
Well, are we gonna tell them what it's about?
Tell who?
Us, about the change in the charter?
Yeah, we'll go on and open up the called meeting and then we'll talk about what we're gonna vote on tonight.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the meeting that we have called tonight. And the only reason we are here tonight is to consider amending the charter of the city of Covington. Removing some unnecessary language and adding a couple things. I'm sure all of y'all had an opportunity to read the changes as they are going to occur. So is there any comments, questions, or discussions before we move forward?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, number one, I looked through all of this and I think it's fine, but I don't see anywhere where, like Salem of the past, if we don't think this is working out for us, that we can pull out of it. And I'd like to know whether or not we have that opportunity. If we want to pull out of it, say 3 years down the road or 4 years, where we don't think it's working. I mean, Salem did that when they consolidated with Roanoke County many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And after about 3 or 4 years, they pulled out and went back to a city school system. So I'd like to know if we are permitted to do that. That's one of the questions lawyers never answered for me.
Well, we've got a lawyer right here on the screen.
I'll try and answer that for you, sir. There's always the ability to revert back out. This is it's a procedural process, I guess is the best way to put it, to go ahead and propose the potential charter changes. But obviously, if at some point in the future, the city and the county decide that a consolidated system is not, then obviously you can go back to the General Assembly and petition to have the charter changed again, revert back to where it was. Obviously, but you'll have to go through the Department of Education again in terms of splitting the division back up.
So that has to be approved by the Board of Education state and also the General Assembly?
Yes, because you'll have to go back and undo everything that's being done right now.
That makes it a little bit more testy.
It does, obviously, but I mean, if both parties are in agreement, you're the ones on the ground.
I know, but if we, what if we want to do it and the county doesn't want to do it, then what do we end up doing?
I think Crystal has a comment.
So what I will say is there's also, I guess for lack of a better words, back out ability, because the way that this is worded and revised, it's also contingent upon the state funding for the salary equalization and the early retirement incentive program, as well as some other things. So there's early clawback features as well. So let's just say, I know we were all under the impression that we would get it to the state and see where the chips fell. And then somehow it was, other things came up as procedural things because, this is all a very new process for localities as well as the state. There are clawback features in this that we can utilize. And as Mr. Popovich was alluding to, it does not necessarily take both localities agreeing to
Solve it.
reverting. It would be that as long as you had a school board majority, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Popovich, as long as you had a school board majority that supported the reverting, and then your governing body, one of the governing bodies that was willing to support it.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so it's not going to be as testy as I thought it would be, because did that, and of course laws change and procedures change. So that's what I'm trying to get across. I mean, because even after we've gotten some money from the state and we have accomplished this, and we go along for a few years and we can't seem to agree that we can continue to work with the merged system, that is my question of it. Or are we locked into it that we absolutely have to?
You're not ever technically locked in forever. I mean, there are ways to get out. It depends. There are lots of, if, ands, or buts. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what the issues might be to cause anybody to revert back out. But when that time comes, there is the possibility to get out.
Well, there's always a possibility that the school board or whatever city council is at that particular point will agree that they want to get out of that particular situation. I'm just saying, I don't want it to be an impossibility for it to happen. What I'm trying to do is to protect the city and whatever its decisions would be down the road, not immediately.
Right. Understood.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? So the next step would be to entertain a motion to approve this charter change, to send it on.
I'll move for approval.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
Try to second.
Raymond was trying to second, but Katie mute button on.
Okay. Raymond seconded.
So we've got a motion, we've got a second. We still have time for discussion before we vote. Any other comments, anything? Ms. Scott, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Hold on just a second. What's the next step once we do this? I mean, does it go like tomorrow to General Assembly? Or?
Yes. If you all, not tomorrow to the General Assembly, what they would do is they would receive notification of your action, whether it was approval or denial of the change. And then it would be introduced as part of normal General Assembly procedures. And it would go to the Commission on Local Government for initial hearing, vetting, and all of that, to then be heard before the full House and then Senate.
Okay.
I think one of the reasons that this got pushed was primarily because it's a short session this year and there's COVID. Each legislator was limited with the number of bills they could introduce. As a result,
Doesn't the school board have to approve it first before it goes to the General Assembly?
The
sir.
State Board of Education.
This is a governing
meets on
body.
Thursday.
Yes.
That's what I mean, the state school board.
Yes, the Board of Education meets on the 28th, I believe. And what will happen now is the General Assembly will receive notification of how you all voted. At that point, they will then either act or not act. And then basically you're asking just for the ability to potentially change your charter. This is not officially changing your charter. Then they will give you the green light because of Dylan's rule to either change or not change. And then you will actually, when you're ready to fully change it, go back to them and say, okay, we're ready to, instead of highlighting it, the red pen and black ink and finalize it. So it's an iterative process. There's a back and forth. Did I explain that correctly, Mark?
Correct.
Okay.
That makes sense. I was just trying to do it in like a really basic layman's terms.
So the next step is to go to the State Board of Education, and that'll be on Thursday.
Yes.
Once they approve it, it'll go to the
General Assembly.
General Assembly. Senator Deeds and Delegate Austin already have bills ready to go. It'll go to, like Crystal said, it goes to the Commission on Local Governments. And it'll have to come through there to be sent to the full General Assembly.
And what I will say too is that I think what they're looking for is just the full legislative packet, right? They want the Board of Education stamp. They want this procedural measure done, just like we did a procedural measure. What was it? No, not last week, because we met every week. This is where we updated the resolution to say board instead of department. They're looking for that whole packet to be all ready, present, go, for then the General Assembly to review and vote. That's essentially what we're doing here tonight.
Yeah. It's just another step.
Red tape.
Did that help you, David?
Yeah, I'm good now. Just wanted to make sure I had that clear.
So we can go ahead and have a roll call?
Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
Certainly.
Ms. Scott?
Mr. Carson,
Four.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Tucker,
Or
Vice Mayor Crozier,
4.
Mayor Seibel.
4. I think we've done all things necessary and proper to accomplish the above. So we're ready to adjourn. David made a motion.
second.
All in favor? We don't have another meeting till next Tuesday.
It's every Tuesday now, isn't it?
It's five Tuesdays in a row. We'll
There
have
we
6
go.
Tuesdays in a row.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Be safe.